So good afternoon and welcome to the Startup Finance Quickbooks Crashcourse presented by Startup Canada and Intuit Canada. Today's crash course is the first installment of 3 online sessions during this year's Startup Finance Week. From September 28th to October 4th, we're joining forces with communities across the country to put the national spotlight on the financial literacy of our Canadian entrepreneurs. Throughout Canada, communities are hosting startup finance events and workshops to connect entrepreneurs like yourself to the tools and knowledge your companies need to survive. My name is Rochelle Bezorsi, and I am the Online Projects Coordinator at Startup Canada, and I am joined by Renee Tavares, the Program Coordinator at Startup Canada. Today we will be co-hosting the 60-minute QuickBooks Crash Course. Goodness, that's a mouthful. So Startup Canada is a grassroots, entrepreneur-led social enterprise with a network of over 100,000 entrepreneurs across Canada. We set out on a mission 3 years ago to build startup communities and are proud to be supporting so many amazing community leaders with resources, networks, and programs to help make Canada a great place to start and grow business. We are delighted to have Nevin and Elizabeth Sendel from Prevendel Business Solutions join us for this session. Nevin is a chartered professional accountant and QuickBooks small business advisor with over 25 years experience in finance, operations, accounting, and much more. He will be guiding us through the QuickBooks Crash Course this afternoon. For those of you tuning in via YouTube or Google+, you can type your questions throughout the presentation and we will try to get them all answered. The hashtag for this event is Startup Finance with the hashtag in front of it. Feel free to tweet throughout the event. So we're going to wait a couple more minutes for people to trickle in. How are you doing today, Nevin?
I'm doing well, thank you. Should I take it away?
We're just going to wait a couple more minutes for people to join us. Do you want to just introduce yourself now?
Sure thing. Well, you guys did a great job of introducing me. Thank you very much. Yes, we are Pro Advisors, and we're here to talk to people who may be using QuickBooks Online already or may have an interest in taking a look at QuickBooks. So we're gonna take you around. We're gonna take you around the QuickBooks sample business that we have online. We'll show you some different tools and how to use it and see if it's a program that's right for you. At the end of the presentation will be about 45 minutes long. We'll leave about 15 minutes for questions, and at the end, Startup Canada will be making an announcement on how you can get QuickBooks Online at a 50% discount. So certainly stay tuned for that. And I'm just going to change us to share screen mode now. This way you'll be able to not see me but hear me. Okay, so we're just going to pop this up. Our company is Prevendel Business Solutions Inc. We're a management solution company, and certainly we have a division that specializes in bookkeeping. So if you have at the end of this presentation, if you're interested in going it alone, that's great. If you're interested in having an organization help you with doing your setup and providing you training and sending you on your way, we can do that as well. We also provide flat fee bookkeeping services on a monthly basis for entrepreneurs who want to focus on their core competency. The agenda for today, if you want to take a quick look at your screen, these are the areas that we're going to be covering, and we'll be navigating through a sample company to provide the support in this regard. We're going to show you QBO options. I'm going to show this to you on a bigger page than that one. And I'm just going to give a couple of seconds here. If you want to take down my cell number, it's 416-998-7862, and my email is nevin@prevendel.com. At the end of the presentation, you're welcome to, you can send questions to email. Also, as a special gift for everybody who's attending, we will send you out a free personal tax deduction reminder. What this is an Excel spreadsheet that will help you remember what you want to take advantage of, and make sure that you take advantage of everything in the tax code as an entrepreneur or having a home-based business, the types of items that you should remember to speak to your external tax accountant regarding. So let me just pop out of that. We can put that up again later on for you. Let me go now to compare online. So, sorry about that. You see on your screen now, compare QuickBooks Online software. There's 3 different types. You've got Easy Start, Essentials, and Plus. Essentials is the most commonly QuickBooks Online that's taken. We're obviously doing this presentation for the Canadian version, the Canadian marketplace. QuickBooks is owned by a public company by the name of Intuit, and Intuit offers the QuickBooks Online solution specific to the Canadian market, to the US market, to certain other markets like Australia and the United Kingdom, and they also have a program for the rest of the world. So our focus in this presentation will clearly be for the Canadian market. And as I mentioned before, the savings can be 50% off. You'll get more information at the end of the call, at the end of the webinar, with regard to that. What's the real difference between Essentials and Plus? It's really the users, and these are simultaneous users, and does not include your bookkeeper or external accountant. You get 2 free user codes for specific to your bookkeeper and accountant. And then you get additional users here for Essentials or Plus. Biggest difference between Essentials and Plus, if you're a company that needs to issue purchase orders and you want to manage inventory and track it carefully, then you're really going to want to register for Plus. If that's not important, if you're a service provider where you're not managing inventory and you don't deal with purchase orders, then Essentials is certainly more than enough. Unless you're limited by the user count, you may still have to progress to Plus. So that's the selection process. As for payroll, payroll is somewhat of an expensive item, and if you have 5 or less employees, we certainly recommend that you might consider doing that on a manual basis. We also offer spreadsheets for tracking payroll on a separate basis, and using Payroll Canada, which is a CRA website to complete all your weekly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, monthly payroll requirements. So now we're going to jump into the sample company, which is designated over here, and we're going to take you around what you need to know. The first time you log into QuickBooks, you won't actually get to this screen. It's going to ask you to put in the name of your company, your address, your HST number, which hopefully you have. If you don't have your HST number, just because you incorporate a company or you register a company, well, you get an ID number. That is not your HST number. You will have to register for your HST. It's a 9-digit number that's followed by the letters RT, Richard Tommy, 0001. If you're going to have payroll, you'll have to register that with a CRA. It's the exact same number as your HST number, except it'll be designated as RP, Richard Perry, 0001. So those things you must take care of, and then you're going to be asked to load in that information by QuickBooks. Also, as you log in for the first time, it will ask you to describe the type of business that you're in and what industry specific. Once you put that in, what QuickBooks does, it will give you the rainbow, which says, here's where the magic happens. And what you'll end up with is a GL that is preset closest to what your industry expectations are. You can still modify it afterwards. You're not handcuffed by it. It's just trying to give you a quick start. Then you'll be right here on the home page, you're going to see the home page. These items won't exist yet. We're going to go through how to get that set up. But the first thing that you're going to want to do is get your setup straightened away. So from a navigation standpoint, you have the plus sign right here. The plus sign is a drop-down menu that will allow you to immediately go to certain areas. You have the rotary wheel here. The rotary wheel is only available depending on security for the user. So as the main user, you'll certainly have access to the rotary wheel. We're going to be going to company settings, and we're certainly going to be going to manage users to allow people to come on board. Other navigational items, this is a search tool, and this is your last entries tool right here. And you also have navigation coming down the left side. In some cases, you can get to things from both the left side, the plus side, and the rotary wheel. It's just a question of comfort, and there's been many iterations over time. So some people get comfortable using a certain thing, and QuickBooks doesn't want to take that away from folks. So new to the program, we're going to come to the rotary wheel. We're going to go to company settings. And our company settings is where we're able to set up our business, and we're not going to touch this typically once it's set up unless we have to do certain modifications. Your right side here is the little, you see, looks like a little pencil. You're going to click on that to get into the area. This is where we would load our logo. So if we want a logo to appear on our invoices, our purchase orders, any of those types of documentations, this is where you're going to load your logo in. As you hit Customize Logo, it will give you details as to, you know, what's best, the JPEG, the bitmap, what size and orientation, so on and so forth. You have your name of your company here. Your add legal name. The only time you would add a legal name is, let's say you have a numbered company, 12345 Ontario Limited, and you're doing business as Long for Success. Well, Long for Success is your company name, and if you want to add your numbered company in, you would simply click here, add it in here, and hit save. That completes for the company name. Contact information, again, you would just hit the pencil. Company address is here. Customer address, that's if you want to show on your invoice a different address than your company address. So it asks you if you want to put in a customer address, meaning this is what your customers will see on your estimates and or your invoices. And then you have a legal address. Now, if you don't fill in customer address and you don't fill in legal address, then your company address is what's going to be standardized across all your forms. But it just gives you some options, and that's what it's about. Company email is here. Customer email, let's say you have a designated accounts receivable person. You might want their email as opposed to the generic company email or the president's email and company email here. And of course your company phone number so that people can reach you, and your website would all go here. Your business number, or sorry, accounting method should always be accrual. You do have an option to make it cash, but keep in mind that cash accounting is really not the accounting of allowance in Canada. So you should always choose accrual. That doesn't mean you can't do cash accounting. What we mean by that is if you're using PayPal or you're using Stripe or Eventbrite or any of these tools to sell your wares, let's say online, instead of invoicing, you could be setting up sales receipts. Effectively, that is cash accounting. If you're not entering bills and paying them, if you're only entering the check as you pay it, effectively that's cash accounting. So you can always select accrual here, but still conduct your business on a cash basis. And of course, why do some people conduct themselves on a cash basis? Well, they want to mitigate their HST situation. So if I don't want to announce my HST collected until I've actually been paid, well, then I'm going to be doing sales receipts all the time and not invoicing with terms and conditions. Business number. Your business number is your HST number. It's a 9-digit. What you put in here is only the 9 digits prior to the RT. So you're going to get a 9-digit number. It's going to say RT0001. You're only putting in the first 9 numbers. That's what the system's carrying for you. You will not see track classes and track locations unless you're using the Plus version. And then you have to decide if you want them turned on or off. So you have that choice and you can go forward. And of course there is multiple languages, English being the most common. Other setups, and we want to monitor the time because I want to try and get you through as much as we can get through. This is where you're going to customize your sales invoices, look and feel. I'm not going to take you through that today. We could do an hour on customizing forms, so we're going to move forward. Your preferred terms, your preferred shipping method. If you're going to have shipping, custom fields, let's just click on this. So they have an event rep, and they have internal and public. What that means is this is a custom box that will show up on your invoice, and internal would mean if that's checked off, it would only show up internally when you're looking at the screen. So you can do that, and you can say, hey, I don't want the public to see who their rep is. I only want us to see it internally. Or if we want the public on their invoice to see who their rep is, it's there. Keep in mind the system doesn't do commissions, but we can do custom reports that will identify the value of the sales, and then we can apply the commission rate in order to track commissions. That's how you would set it up. You would set it up with a customized field. Custom transaction numbers, I always recommend you put this on. That means you can set your transaction number as to what you want it to be. I highly don't recommend that when you start, that's a double negative, terrible when I'm speaking, but when you're starting out a business, having invoice number 1 probably screams to the world that you're a new business. You might not want to do that. If you are providing services, let's say, to only 3 or 4 companies, and you don't want them to know that there's only 3 or 4 companies that you're supporting, you want to look bigger and stronger, you can start off with an invoice transaction number, let's say, of 1,000. And after 1 month, you're at 1,005. I would recommend that when you start invoicing the following month, add 50 to the number, add 100 to the number, and it makes it look like you've got a lot more clients on the go than not. And that's what custom transaction numbers allows you to do, is you can put in the number on the invoice as you want. It will always add 1 to the last one you have, and then you can override it if you want. Service date's an option, especially if you're a service provider like an HVAC person, a plumber, an electrician. You will actually create a box on the invoice that will show the date that you were there to provide service. Pardon me, you'd have to turn that on to do that. Discount, probably more for the advanced course, but this is where you would post your discounts. If you are using something like PayPal or Stripe and there's a charge for the discount, then that would make sense to have this turned on. Caution in using discount here and not in the body as an item, as a sales item. The caution is this: when you put in a discount, it discounts the HST. This is a flaw that I'm not particularly pleased on the QBO front with, and that's because the government doesn't accept that. When you take a cash discount, or when you take a discount from a credit card and you're applying it to the invoice, you are not allowed to lower your HST, and it does do that with this functionality, so be careful with that. Deposit is if you take deposits on account. You could set it up here, although I much prefer to do it as a sales item right in the body of the invoice. And that allows you to take deposits. It's your choice whether you're charging it with HST or not. And then, of course, you can just deduct that deposit off of future invoices. Products and services. Sorry about that. Products and services, it's just whether or not you're tracking inventory or not. Of course, tracking quantity on hand will only exist in the highest level plus version. Messages, you can create, special greetings that automatically go on your different invoices or estimates. They give you some basic default ones that show up automatically, but if you want to put something else, you certainly can. And statements, you can just create the aging. I'm just going to move forward a little quicker, monitoring our time so we can get into the guts of the software. Bills and expenses, again, do you want to show items on the table? Do you want to track expenses by customer? Some of these are, again, for the highest value of what you're doing. And you can set certain rules that allow you to go through. Purchase orders, you have to say whether you want to use them or not, and they're only available, again, on the highest version. The advanced, here's where you're going to set your fiscal years. So whatever, if you're a registered business, the first month of your fiscal year is always going to be January because you're on a calendar year end. If you are an incorporation, you would have the choice of selecting your year end. So whatever you selected when you organized your business through the lawyer, let's say you have the year end of August 31st, then you're going to change this to September, right? First month of the fiscal year is September. And first month of the income tax year for corporations, it's always going to be the same as the fiscal year. Okay, closing of the books. Closing of the books, this is where you go if you don't want anybody going back to the previous year end and fiddling with numbers that could hurt you, going forward, because one of the greatest things about QuickBooks is this is a flexible product. One of the most difficult problems with QuickBooks is this is a very flexible product. So it allows you to roam around and change things immediately. But if you want to lock off, let's say your last year end was December 31st, you're going to want to close your books December 31st once you've got your final numbers from your accountant, just as a reminder that nobody's going to go back and twiddle in that area, as it were. So it's this is a way you can close your books. You can do it monthly if you want, or you can do it at your annual fiscal year end. Chart of accounts. I like to enable account numbers and put them in and match it up with the auditors. Your choice. These are the accounts that you're going to create in your GL for the different discount or markups to go if you turn those on. Automation. I like pre-fill forms with previously entered content. It reminds me of, let's say I call up a payable and it's going to remind me of which GL account I sent it to before. It's a helpful thing. I like it. I always turn it on. Automatically apply credits. Hate it. Don't like it when the system does it. I always turn that off. It's just a personal preference. Automatically invoice unbilled activity. Not a fan of that one either. I like to be in control of what I'm doing. Copy estimates to invoices. Now, you can do estimating in any package that you choose from QuickBooks, which is great. So I like to be able to roll my estimates into invoices if I'm doing it, and I like to be able to do copy pending and accepted estimates. You do have the choice to say I will only copy accepted estimates. So the client's got to accept it before you move forward. You can't take a pending and roll it over. I like to do both. Automatically apply bill payments. Again, not a fan of that one either. That one, I'd rather have control over what I'm paying and how much I'm paying. I don't like the system navigating it directly on their own. But those are, again, it's how you feel comfortable in how you want to move forward. Time tracking, again, if you have employees and you want to track it to jobs, it's there. Currency, here's the big one. Our home currency, obviously, in Canada is going to be the Canadian dollar. You have the option for turning on multi-currency. You don't have to turn it on. If you turn on multi-currency, you cannot turn it off. So once you've turned it on, it's on for life. There's no unringing that bell. If you're only doing business in Canada and you only have Canadian suppliers, you can leave multi-currency turned off. If you do have multi-currency turned on, every single day Intuit through QuickBooks downloads, for all their users, they download on a daily basis what your exchange rates are. So you don't have to go out and get them. You don't have to manage currencies yourself. It will come up automatic, which is wonderful. If you do want to manage currencies, you can click it here and you can set it for different time periods as you wish. Although I just recommend taking the rate that comes up and overriding it if you need to. Let's say you have a credit card expense and it's already pre-programmed. You will change the currency that comes up, and I'll show you where to do that after. Day format, I'm originally from Quebec, so I certainly prefer the day, month, year look. You may not. You can certainly change it to what you like. Here's the number format that you're going to see. Again, I like that preference. Warn if duplicate check number. Really important to check off this one. And I would also warn you for this one. I'd say warn if duplicate bill number. Bill means vendor. So if you're entering a vendor invoice, right, a vendor bill, you're entering it. If you put that bill number in a second time or somebody else does, it'll give you a warning saying, hey, we have that bill number in already. So that helps you from precluding the entrance of the same bill over and over again, and God forbid paying somebody twice for the same item. So I like checking that warn box off. I think it's a good idea. And then, of course, how long do you want to be signed out for if you're inactive? So that's your settings. It takes a little bit of time to get set up, but it's worth investing the time. And if you're not sure, ask questions. Ask somebody who knows, or even hire a company like ours who'll come in, do your setup for you, provide you with training so that you're comfortable and confident going forward. Because if you mess up on your setup, crap in, crap out, as they say, right? So we want to get that set up. The other important thing here on the rotary reel is manage users. So if you're more than a one-man operation and you want to invite, or even if you are a one-man operation, you're going to want to invite people to join. At the very least, here's where you're going to invite your bookkeeper and you're going to invite your external tax accountant. You have room to invite two. And here I'm just going to take a moment to talk about what's best to use as a browser. It's highly recommended that you use Google Chrome as a browser, and if you don't want to use Google Chrome, that's fine. Mozilla works just as well. What we do caution you against is Internet Explorer. You do get glitches using Internet Explorer, so I would stick to Google Chrome and I would stick to Mozilla. Also important, you have to allow pop-ups from this site. So for example, if I'm going to invite an accountant, you see the pop-up that comes up? It will not pop up if I don't allow pop-ups. And there are a number of pop-up issues that occur when using the software. So if somebody's having trouble logging in, just remind them, by the way, allow pop-ups or you just can't log on, you can't go in. Here's where you're going to put your accountant's email address, their first and last name. You just go through the next, and you send it to them. Down here, it's going to show up as pending until they've received it and signed in for the first time, and then it'll show accepted. If they can't find it or you have to send it to them again, you do have a resend option. While things are pending, you can still resend them another invite. If you use the resend another invite, they have to use the latest one you've sent because it nullifies the first ones that you've sent. If you're going to put another user on, again, you're going to hit new. Sometimes the pop-up will show and it then jumps away. You have to hit new again, and then it shows like it's showing right now, and it stays. You're going to choose what type of person that you want to track. You can see that you even have an option for time tracking only. So the only reason that they use the system is to come in and put their hours into the system. That is a possibility now. So that's an upgrade that we've got, which is great. So I'm going to hit next. You can see that I can set the user rights. They can have all, they can have none, it can be limited. I can put them in customers and sales. What's really nice about this is you get this open box that tells you what they have access to. Okay? So this tells you what they have access to, and it can put some controls. It's not, they're working on the drilling down of more and more security to help us. Right now, sometimes you'd like to cut somebody's security and access, but unfortunately it cuts access to the reports in some cases. So you really have to figure out, what they can see, what they can't see, and what works for you. So now we're going to go into, I'm going to stay on home. On the right side here, this is where you connect another account. So before you're going to go to connect an account, you're going to go to your GL and make sure that you have the GL set up. I'm going to show you the GL after, but connect another account. Let's assume we had done that. If I'm doing banking with TD, I'm going to click on the TD, and I put in my bank card, I put in my password, and then I'm now connected with the TD. It will show me which accounts I have on my convenience card. I'm not going to put the information in right now for you, but what will show up here is I will get a breakdown of all the accounts that are on my convenience card. As well, there's going to be a middle box, and it's going to be a drop-down box for my GL. And what that GL is, let's say my checking account, I want to now tie it to my GL bank account. I'm going to get an automatic download of data from the TD Bank. I cannot control your account, so let's say as your accountant, I don't have access to your bank account. This is strictly a data dump. But I still have to tell the system, which GL account I want the information going to. So once I've done that, you'll see it'll take a few minutes to do. It'll say you have success. In this case, we preloaded the sample company with the checking account, and this company has a Visa card. So we would just click either one of those. We get this screen here. There's this instead of saying file upload, this would usually say update. And you can hit update at any time, and then you can go do other business. Every 3 to 4 days, it updates automatically anyway. But if you want to get the most updated look at your bank and your credit card information, you'd hit update. So right now, we're seeing transactions that occurred at the bank. And let's look at the Visa card. So right now, we're seeing things with the Visa card. Sometimes you'll get green. Green means there's either a match or it's a previously recognized client. So I can hit add, or I can go into each one. So in this case, let's just take a look at Supplies Depot. So Supplies Depot, I'm pretty sure that Supplies Depot is going to be office supplies. So I'm going to say, you know what, let's post this to office supplies. Yes, I paid HST on this puppy, and it is for purchases. Yes, I'm going to set the default because every time I buy Supplies Depot, I'm always paying HST, so I want it to come up automatically now. Select class. Well, that's optional if I have class turned on, but for most of us, we won't be using class, so if it's not an option, the box won't even show up. So don't worry about it. So now that I'm happy, I say, yes, it's Supplies Depot. It is for office supplies on my GL account. Yes, I paid HST. I'm going to go ahead and add it. That transaction's in the system now. And you'll note when we jump down 2 lines, I have another Sales Depot. Well, the system becomes intuitive, and it says, hey, I've seen that Supplies Depots come in, and you post it to supplies, and you want HST on there. So, once I'm really comfortable with the system, I could just go hit add right here, and that'll be it. However, I can also click on the line item itself, look at the transaction again this way to be sure, and feel more comfortable and confident, or maybe I want to add a memo because there's something important that I want to add, and this is the memo line. I'm going to go ahead and hit add. The other thing that it allows us to do, and I don't see one here, but let's just pick up another Supplies Depot. Let's just say this happened to be a restaurant bill. So if it happened to be a restaurant bill and I wanted to split my line items, because when I see it like this, I'm getting HST is included in that entire amount, and the system's backing out the HST. Well, when you go to a restaurant, you've got a gratuity, and there's no HST on that gratuity. And in some cases, you're only supposed to be taking 50% of the HST. So instead of just adding automatically, I can come into the body with a click on the line item. I'll just do that again, right? So anywhere on the line item, I click it. I can go to split, and now I can break my transaction up with or without HST. So I could say meals and entertainment here. I'd put in the amount of the gratuity, and I would say exempt. So, let's say the gratuity was, $5.88. So now I go meals and entertainment again. I'm just writing supplies for now. Leave HST on. The difference, the original amount of the invoice was $35.88. I said the tip was $5.88. The difference is $30. I'm going to put $30 here, which includes HST. So the system will back out the HST from this $30, and then I can just save and add it. So there's real good hands-on activities that you can perform while you have transactions sitting here in your right. Again, we came from home. We came to the accounts here. When they're sitting in here, they're sort of in, for lack of a better term, they're in outer space. We have not entered them until we transact. Even if it says it's got a match, unless I hit match, it doesn't go into my GL. What I do see on my GL, and I'm just going transactions, chart of accounts. Okay, what I do see on my GL is the 2 accounts that have automatic data dumps are defined by the lines going back and forth, the arrows going back and forth. And I get to see the bank balance and my QuickBooks balance. This is my GL balance. For the purposes of trial balance, income statement, balance sheet, that's my balance. This is the actual balance in the bank. And naturally, eventually, we want them to be equal. Where we do reconciliations is the year. You've got a reconciliations. I'm also watching the time here, so I want to get around to as much stuff as we can, but here's where we're doing the reconciliations, and we can do it on any account that we want to set up. We can do reconciliations. It's very straightforward. I'm not going to go through that with you right now, so that we can take a look at some other items. Your plus sign. Your plus sign allows you to create an expense for credit cards, a check for doing checks directly, or you can set up the bills and pay bills. Okay, you can issue purchase orders, supplier credits, credit card credits, all happen here. We can go right to invoicing. What this does not do with the plus sign is it doesn't tell you anything about your receivables and payables. In order to find that, we're going to come down the left-hand side. The left-hand side, let's take a look at customers. So here we've got all of our customers loaded into the system. And if I want to, I don't want to scroll through all of them. I just want to take a look at who owes me money right away. I'm going to hit this red button here. These are the 5 invoices that are overdue, totaling $14,000. If I want everybody back again, I just click it again, and I get the previous look that I saw. Here's where I'm going to enter new customers, although you can enter a new customer right from the invoicing page. But if you want to put them in, here's where you're going to put them in. Here's, you can add the address. You can have a different ship to address. You can put notes that are important to you. Here's the business number of the account. Most importantly, payment and billing, right down here. This is the customer pays me with what currency. So if you're running multiple currencies, this is how you define the currency of the client in question. Now, if you have a client that you deal with that is both Canadian and US dollars, you want to modify the name of the US dollar amount. Basically, if I'm dealing with XYZ company, I'll open XYZ company and I'll select Canadian dollars. Then I'll do XYZ company, and then in brackets I'll put USD, and then when I come in here I'll say, no, you know what, I pay this guy in US dollars. And then I'll save him. And that way when you're doing a lookup for the client, you'll know immediately which one's Canadian and which one's US, so you don't grab the wrong company and charge them in the wrong currency. So little word to the wise. Suppliers, this is our accounts payable. Again, here's all our payable setting in here. New supplier. Here you don't have the multiple tabs like you had with the receivables, but you do have the choice of saying this is Canadian, US, whatever, in multi-currency. Another critically important item for Canadian suppliers. There are times that your supplier gives you an account number and they ask you to quote that account number on your check. That's where you're going to put it. Also, you must have their HST number. If any client in Canada provides, or any supplier in Canada provides you with a bill, you must have, and of course they're charging you HST, GST or HST, depending. You must have their business number, that's the 9 digits before the RT, you must put it in here. This way, if you're ever audited by CRA, you know what their number is, you have it. But in general, it should be on all of their bills. And as a word to the wise, never pay a bill with HST unless the HST number's there. Because if you're ever audited, they will undo your ITC and you won't get credit for it. So keep that one in mind. Just taking a look at the time here, there is an opportunity to do sales tax. I don't recommend reporting sales tax through QBO. Doing it manually and doing your transaction manually is the better route to go. But this is your rates and your settings are set here. If you have to set up another one, you just go to new tax, you fill out the information that's required, and your new tax rate will be set up and it will follow accordingly. You do have reports. Again, there's many reports that exist. You get more reports the higher level you go, whether you're essentials or plus, but you can also customize your reports. So if you're let's just look at one really quick here, give you an example of what that might be. I can review sales. I can do sales by customer summary. Anytime I'm doing a report, if I change my transaction date, so this is this month to date, let's go this year to date. No data changes. I always have to hit run report after I change my drop-down selection. So now I hit Run Report. Boom, I've got my information. So this is my customization tab. If I want different information, so in this case, we have sub-accounts. And by the way, you can create sub-accounts in your, you can do job costing and sales, that exists. But if I don't want to see this, for example, I can go into customization and I can say, you know what, I want to collapse my look. And then I'm going to say Run Report. So now I only have the total amount. I don't have to see all the subcategories. It's just a better look and view for me, and I can save that as a customized report. Also, if I had to pay commissions, but I only want to pay commissions on clients who have paid me, I've received the money, I can go back to Customize, and I can create a new report and say, you know what, show me on a cash basis. In other words, I only want to see my sales based on the payments I've received. I can hit Run Report, and we were at 62,000 before. Now we're at 58. So this is, in fact, anything we have. On any report that I go, anytime my pointer changes to a hand, that's a drill down option. I can drill down, and here's all the invoices. I can drill down into the specific invoice I want. Anytime that I have the hand, I can drill down and see what's happened, and this one's paid, and I want to see when the payment's there, and I want to actually see, the payment that's made, and this is when we receive the payment. You can see it's unbelievably great for drill down. You can get all sorts of information. In this case, I'm going back to the summary report. Receiving payments, I'm going to do that one quick. Receiving payments, let's just go back to our home page. Receiving payments is right here. I can actually go and do a bank deposit if I'm just putting money in. I see that, Liz, thanks. I can go to bank deposit here, or normally I'm going to go receive payments. So in receiving payments from clients who I've sent an invoice to, I will use this screen. I will put in the client, and since I don't know which clients owe us money, I'm just going to go back here to do one. So let's just grab one of the overdue ones. So here's an overdue invoice. I can send a reminder. You saw that on there. I'm going to go to receive payment. So I receive the payment, and I'll set the date. So today I got the money. They paid me by check. Check number was 1234. And checking, by the way, is the bank account that's been set up in this company. The other option I have, let's say I only make deposits once a week. If I deposited this check, at the bank today and I had no other deposits, well, you know what? I'm going to leave it checking. However, if I only deposit once a week and I might have more deposits, instead of using the bank, I'll use undeposited funds. And then I'll just hit Save and Close. And the reason for undeposited funds, they don't show up in your bank right away because you haven't actually physically made the deposit. But here, I can go to bank deposits when I actually go, and maybe I'd received 5 different payments over the last 5 days. All those going to undeposited funds will show up here. I'm going to receive them all in, and what will happen is with multiple checks, I'm going to have a new total, which is going to balance with my bank book. So the deposit that I make that has 5 different checks on it, this is the way I want to handle it, and I make the deposit. What helps you is when you go and do your bank rec, the deposit amount that shows up on your bank rec is the same that shows up in your bank. So I'm just going to X out of there. I just wanted to show you that that piece of. Here, I'll just save it new. At different areas. Let me just pull up a bill here. You have options like Save and New, Save and Close. This is where you would enter in a vendor bill. There's different things showing up here because of the setup. Billable and markup percentage won't show up if you just have a basic setup. Items would be reserved for items such as inventory. So if you've got inventory turned on, then you can be receiving things as item on your purchase. There's also in your invoices and your bills and your journal entries, anything that you're doing, you have an attachment section, and it's a drag and drop. So let's say, I have a drag and drop. I've gone into my search. I'm just going to minimize this, and let's just say that this was somebody's payroll that we did. So if this bill, which isn't a bill, let's say it was a check, I would just take this, drag it, drop it into attachments, and now I can maintain a digital copy of the bill, of information on the invoice, of a work order sheet. Whatever I want to do, I can put it into the attachments. Obviously, there's a maximum up to 25 meg, but the nice thing is you can maintain everything digitally, but keep a good copy of it. Especially if it's a credit card receipt, which tend to fade. Always nice to scan those and put them in if you have the time, right? It's all a question of the time and what you want to do. A lot more that I want to cover, but I'd rather take some questions from you guys now. There is this down here on the left-hand side, which is called apps, but because this is a test database, it doesn't show up. If in your system, when you hit apps, it will give you a description of all the apps that exist. Okay? Anytime that you're considering an app, make sure when you speak to the company that they are harmonized with the Canadian version. You have to ask that question specifically because they may not work correctly with the Canadian version. So always ask before you turn on an app. There's also telephone and tablet support. You can download a free app. Once you're registered on QuickBooks Online, you can take the app, set it to your phone. It allows you to take pictures of bills, especially cash receipts. It's great. Just take a picture of it, and the transaction with the attachment photo will automatically load into your system. So the days of cloud accounting being very simplistic, which it was just 2 years ago, has really changed. You've got some real power here. Everything's automatically backed up, although if you want to do a report on a monthly basis, you can go to all reports, and you may have to have your accountant do it. There is a general ledger dump, and a general ledger dump is every transaction that happened that month, that year. You can back it up to a hard drive if you want, but there's never been an issue with downtime when you're dealing with QuickBooks. So with that, I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to unshare the screen. There's a lot more we could cover, but we just wanted to give you a taste and a flavor for how well QuickBooks Online can manage pretty much any type of business. Although if you're in manufacturing, I caution you by going with QBO itself. But there are some great apps that will help manufacturers out there. Oh yes, last page of presentation. Again, if you're interested in receiving that personal tax deduction reminder spreadsheet, there's my email address. There's a cell phone number. We're also happy to provide training. We're happy to provide you with with fixed fee monthly bookkeeping service. And if you've got any questions, Liz, have you gotten any that have come across? I can take a look at those. Oh, hang on, I have to share the screen again. Sorry, I was pointing to the PowerPoint. There, now you can see it.
Those are some pre.
Okay, that's enough time for that one. Let's go back, and we will unshare the screen. Okay, for those of you who have gotten the information you want so far, then super. You're welcome to leave us. For those of you who have some questions, we're going to try and get through to some of them here, and you're welcome to hang out with us. One of the questions that came in was, how do I get info to accountant to do taxes? That was when, I guess we might as well stay in screen share since you guys can hear me. Entire screen. So there's two ways to get information to your accountants. Oops. It's funny, most of the auditors just haven't been crazy about logging on, but what you can do under manage users, we were there before, is you send an invite right here to your accountant. Now they have access. They can come in, they can run the reports that they need, the trial balance, they can make entries if they want. Unlike desktop, which was a bit of a problem, where it was really complicated to send files back and forth, and am I working in the current file? It's always nicer to have them come in and handle the live. If they don't want membership on your file, as it were, then you would just create a report. And the report that would be most commonly, no, we don't want that one, sorry, all reports. The best one to do, sorry guys, I have a different look than you guys have as an accountant, so my navigation's a little bit different. You would take the trial balance, which isn't readily here. I mean, you can send them the P&L and the balance sheet, which are there, but you're going to send them, they're going to want the GL from you for the year, and they're going to want the trial balance. So those are the two reports you're going to send. And just to give you an example of a report, let's just take the P&L. You have two choices. We're going to, let's say, last year. So this was our last fiscal year for this company. I can email it directly to my accountant, or I can export a report into Excel. So, once I've exported it, I can manipulate it. I can do all sorts of things. So the reporting function, the ability to email directly to who you want, or to dump it to Excel and do things, fantastic. Love that feature myself. Question, can I get my credit cards to download automatically? We covered that. What about my personal expenses on those credit cards? Good question. So we're going to go back to home. We're going to go back to Visa card. And, we were downloading these. Let's just say the coffee place, let's face it, we need our coffee to do our jobs, but maybe we're not going to be as aggressive with this deduction. So because we're not going to be aggressive with this deduction, and we don't want it, we want to bring it into the accounting. I mean, you have an option where if you're not doing reconciliation of your credit cards, then you could go here and say exclude selected. So don't post that, exclude it. I could do that option. Or in the case of I am going to reconcile the credit card, which means I have to show every expense. Instead of selecting, I don't know who the shareholder is here, but let's just say Tom happens to be the president of the company. We're going to put Tom's name in, not Coffee Place, and we're going to say shareholder loans, and I'm not sure if that's set up here or not in our GL, but it should be. Yeah, we wouldn't put it to owner's equity. We would have something called shareholder loan and current liabilities. So let's just say this was shareholder loans. We'd put it there. So now the shareholder, the president, owes the company $788 because the company's paying $788 to the credit card, and we would add that, and that's how we would handle that transaction. I can't read that far, Liz. You have to bring it over. HST, how do I run a report so I know how much to report? Excellent question. Here's where we're going to go. We're going to go to sales tax, and we're going to go to sales tax, and our rates and settings, as I mentioned before, are here. Here's where we're going to run our reports. So we've got GST summary, we've got detail, and we've got exception report. The detail is what's going to be for the period. The exception report is, let's say you're reporting quarterly, and you had a prior period issue that popped up. So you basically have to report both if you're using the system to do it. This is why I'm not a fan of the HST reporting, and I'll show you an example as to why. So we would hit detail, and I always recommend printing out the detail report. So we're going to go last quarter because you wouldn't be reporting this quarter. So we're going to go last quarter. Last quarter for them was June 30th, so they would have had to report by July 31st. We're going to hit one report, and I would print this report out. And this says that I only had one invoice, and here's all my ITCs. So this is the amount I'm going to put in for collected. This is the amount for ITCs, and the difference obviously is going to be a claim against the government to refund me money. And of course, I can drill down in this report at any time, and to print it, I'm just going to go up here, or I can export it. I have all the choices I want. But here's what doesn't show up on this report. Let's say during this period of time, April to June, let's say I had a couple of invoices that came in late and they were dated March, and I put them in March. They will not show up here. So how do I know that I didn't leave crumbs on the table to get back from the government? Well, my recommendation is you print the report out, but you still go back to chart of accounts here. And in going back to chart of accounts, I'm going to look up my HST. It shouldn't be the suspense account. It'll all be in the payable account. I'm going to go back into the history, and I'm going to go to June 30th. Because June 30th was my end. So I can, instead of going back page, assuming I had a bunch of transactions, I can just go here, say, please take me to June 30th, and I'm going to say go. And now I'm in that GL account history, and this is the last transaction I had. So it's saying right now in the system that I owe $1712.85, whereas the report is saying I'm owed money. So we're missing a sales receipt, whatever. IMO is suggesting you come back here and you always zero this out. You create a general journal entry to make this to zero. I'd have to, again, show you how to do it once, but once you've got the hang of it, you zero this out. When you come back and do your next quarterly report or monthly or annual, as the case may be, it may not be zero anymore because you had a previous transaction that occurred. That's how you know you had a prior period entry, and that's how you pick it up. Yeah, tomorrow's session, if you want a little more information on exactly how to handle HST and we can actually do an entry, then you might want to tune in on the advanced and ask, how can I really manage the HST? It's more of an advanced question. We can handle that. Again, search is the spyglass. You can do advanced searches. This is a way to do an advanced search to find something. I know we only have a minute left. If you're in anything like bills or invoices, let's say invoices, you're going to see that this little guy here. When you click on that, that's your most recent transactions. So if you wanted to go back to something you just worked on without having to navigate all around the place, you can find things really, really fast. So again, I want to thank everybody for attending. We certainly love to use QuickBooks ourselves. I hope that if you are wondering whether it's right for you or not, that we were able to show you some things that that make sense for your business. If you're not sure, you can always drop us a line, and we're happy to answer them as QuickBooks Pro advisors. And for those of you who are going to be with us tomorrow on the advanced user, we look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you so much, Nevin. Thank you for the great overview and walkthrough. On behalf of Startup Canada and Intuit Canada, thank you. If you still have questions or want to learn about QuickBooks Online, be sure to join us tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. ET for Part 2, QuickBooks Troubleshooting. This will be a 60-minute session dedicated to solving any problems or questions you have with QuickBooks. To receive your 50% off promo code for QuickBooks Online, be sure that you are registered on the Eventbrite link in the description of this video. We ask attendees to email their questions before 6 p.m. tonight to Nevin and Elizabeth at prevendel@simpatico.ca. That's prevendel@simpatico.ca with the subject line QBO Troubleshooting. So another big thank you to Nevin and Elizabeth for volunteering their time to facilitate this session today. We truly appreciate it. Have an enterprising day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.